It looks like Masai Ujiri made the right call on a sneaky move he made a few weeks ago. So we're going to break down in this video who the heck Jontay Porter is, what kind of impact he can have on the Toronto Raptors and has sort of shown in his first real opportunity with the team, and how it sort of plays out affects the team in the future. Because without his acquisition, the team would have definitely been in a serious rut, especially against that Sacramento Kings team last night. So lots of stuff to dive into in this video. But before we do, folks, again, bring it up. Over 56% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel, so it would mean the world to me if you guys could hit that subscribe button, as we're covering all of the latest Toronto Raptors news. So we're making a push now for 32,000 subscribers. You guys have been crushing it, hitting that button, so appreciate you guys as always. But we're diving into another person I appreciate today, as Masai Ujiri seems like he's back after a year and a half or so of some weird trades, particularly with the San Antonio Spurs, some prospects that have come in and really haven't developed or shown a lot of potential. Masai Ujiri seems to be back, locked in, and we saw the big move everyone has talked about over the last few weeks, the OG for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley deal. But one move that sort of went under the radar was the acquisition of Jontay Porter, because a little Woj bomb came out a few weeks ago, basically revealing the Toronto Raptors are signing Jontay Porter to a two-way contract, and it was overlooked by a lot of people. I made a vid on it. Some people were excited about it, but for the most part, no one really knew what happened. So last night, especially when people saw Jontay Porter out there on the court, getting a lot of minutes, getting run over Chris Boucher. People were like, who the heck is this guy? Who got brought in? Was he in the OG Anunoby deal or stuff? Well, no, that wasn't the case. He was a guy that when Ron Harper Jr. ended up having a season-ending injury, the Raptors ended up cutting him, and they had an open two-way spot. So Jontay Porter was a guy that was acquired, and he has a very interesting backstory in terms of how he ended up making his way to the Toronto Raptors. So we're going to dive into that. But first, his basketball core, let's talk about the basketball side of things, because he is not your sort of average two-way player. He is a guy that was a highly renowned prospect. He's brothers with Michael Porter Jr., who also has dealt with some injuries over the course of his career. So again, Jontay Porter is not your prototypical guy that's sort of coming in on a two-way contract for the Toronto Raptors. He's 24 years old here now at this point, 6'11", and, from Missouri and all that type of stuff, but is a player that has some length, has some size, has some strength, and again, no one's going to be able to stop Domantas Sabonis, and some people were criticizing his defense there, but even Jakob Poeltl was kind of getting cooked on the defensive end in terms of trying to guard Sabonis. But last night, Jontay Porter proved what he is sort of able to do out there on the basketball court. And it's, again, solid positional defense, nothing going to be overwhelming. He's not going to jump out of gym for reasons that we'll dive into later in this video, but he's a pretty smart basketball player. He's a high IQ guy, and he really spaced the floor out really well, because for a 6'11 dude, he is an elite jump shooter. And again, small sample size here, 2 games with the Toronto Raptors. Again, didn't get a lot of run against Memphis. He was previously with the team, so some people were speculating that, hey, it just might be a little feel-good game for Jontay Porter to get him some run against the Memphis Grizzlies and then, see it all out. But no, he actually got some serious minutes in this game against Sacramento, where the Raptors made a push, and he didn't look bad. He did not look bad whatsoever. Looking at his stats, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 1 block, and defensively, again, no one's going to stop Domantas Sabonis the way he's playing right now. He's one of the, if not the, behind Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid, the best center in the NBA at this point. He has been cooking, passing, finishing around the rim, all that type of stuff. So I don't blame him for not completely putting the clamps down on Sabonis, but I thought he did a solid enough job. He's a big body in there, and definitely a guy that was picked up as a two-way, right? That's an encouraging sort of performance that he put on. But again, the really interesting part about his game is the three-point shooting. And last night, and even in the game against Memphis, he looked confident firing up that basketball, made 2 of 3 of those three-point shots on last night's game, made a weird float, had a bit of a strange drive, which I thought was a weird decision. But other than that, I thought he played really well, smart basketball for the Toronto Raptors, and he has a really interesting backstory, which should make Raptors fans a little bit excited. It's not your average sort of, guy that can barely make the league and stuff. No, Jontay Porter is a guy that is regarded as sort of a top prospect in terms of potential, what he could potentially do. However, Blake Murphy really dives into it deep, but he dropped this article discussing how he walked away from basketball at age of 22 due to, persistent knee issues, dealt with an MCL injury, ACL injuries. I tore my ACL. I know how rough it is to sort of recover from that. And then obviously we know the relationship with Michael Porter Jr., who's dealt with a lot of injuries himself. So the hope isn't really, gonna persist a lot when you're dealing injury after injury. Injuries have taken out players' careers, so he's dealing with that. But his brother Michael Porter Jr. encouraged him, wouldn't let him quit. And then Jontay's back in the NBA, healthier than ever, getting a chance to play with the Toronto Raptors. And again, interesting story. He worked his way back, played with, I believe it was the Denver Nuggets summer league team, then got associated with the Bucks. He's obviously played with the Grizzlies a little bit. He's bounced around the NBA to now where he's at the point where he's able to sort of be healthy enough over the past 6 months where an NBA team is really willing to give him that two-way contract, give him that sort of roster spot, and see what he can do. And we're seeing it right now. He has an extremely quick release from behind the three-point line, so he's confident in it. It's a quick shot, so being 6'11", that's capable enough on the defensive end. Again, he's not going to guard anyone in space. He's not one of those switchable, heck, even like a Precious Achua sort of mobile on the wing, but he's strong. He's burly enough to where players won't really be able to bully him except for, the top guys in the entire NBA. So he's capable enough on the defensive end. He spaces the floor really well. He has a comfort sort of with the game that I'm sure will ease back into himself more as he's getting more and more healthy, gets more and more reps underneath his belt, and frankly is kind of exactly what the doctor ordered for the Toronto Raptors, because obviously Jakob Poeltl is our 5 right now. We acquired him at last year's trade deadline, but behind him we are extremely thin with Precious Achua gone out, and even OG Anunoby, who guarded some 5s for the Toronto Raptors. Two of those guys getting sent out. The Raptors desperately needed a proper center that can sort of guard that 5 position. Obviously, Chris Boucher can block a lot of shots if he's forced into being the 5, but is just not, doesn't have the weight, doesn't have the mass to play the 5 position against, the Domantas Sabonis's of the world, right? Chris Boucher is more of a player that's a 4. He's an elite 4 defender. So Jontay Porter, he's capable of playing that. He spaces the floor, and with Christian Koloko out for the indefinite future, I mean, he's a nice guy that's, whether or not he's a placeholder or not, he's definitely a guy that seems capable for the Raptors to sort of make a run. If Poeltl gets in foul trouble, he'll be able to give you solid minutes. Definitely something different than Jakob Poeltl, but definitely solid enough to where your team just doesn't completely go into the, desperation mode or throwing Scotty Barnes on the other team's 5 or something along those lines. I mean, very good foresight from Masai Ujiri to make this move happen. I snuck it up there, but I put a poll out there on the Raptors Digest Twitter. You can definitely check that out. We're ramping that back up as of late, but to see if you guys think Jontay Porter can hold it down as a backup center for the Toronto Raptors this season, and 60% of us, 58% said yes. So people are encouraged. People are intrigued by his performances as of late. Again, extremely small sample size, but regardless, he's definitely a capable enough basketball player from what we've seen to at least hold it down until Koloko gets back, until we make a potential move to the trade deadline. Because again, the Raptors want to win games, and if we had no center behind Jakob Poeltl that was capable of playing minutes, then the Raptors would be in an extremely tough spot. But let me know what you guys think about all this Toronto Raptors news. Do you think Masai Ujiri made the right call with giving that two-way spot to Jontay Porter? Let me know in the comment section down below. You guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.